So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and most warmly welcome to this press conference of Finnish and Latvian Prime Ministers. We will first hear short remarks on the discussions, and then we have time for a few questions. So, Prime Minister, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Prime Minister, dear Evika, for your visit to Helsinki and Kesäranta. We, Finland and Latvia, we have excellent relations. Actually, it is my pleasure to host you here in Helsinki, despite this gloomy weather what we have here in Helsinki today. During our meeting today, we discussed on our bilateral issues, European agenda, security of the Baltic Sea, and our borders. We have an active cooperation between our countries and on defense and military matters. Patria's assembly line in Latvia improves our region's capability to produce military equipment. It is great that the trade between our countries has increased and will hopefully increase even more. Many Finnish companies such as Neste, Fazer and Hesburger are present in the Latvian market. Our countries are currently facing very similar situation. Migrants are used as a hybrid tool. There are clear signs that foreign authorities have contributed to the situation in both of our countries. And I'm very thankful that our countries are doing so good cooperation on this issue because we have so similar situation. In our case, Russian authorities have now allowed persons without necessary document to travel to Finland. We have continued to see that Russian border served is even assisting them to reach Finland. Due to the rapid increase of the illegal entry at Finland's eastern border in the last couple of weeks, strong measures have been needed to address the situation. Last week, we already temporarily closed part of our eastern border. And despite these matters and measures, illegal entry continued and the asylum seekers found their way up to north. Starting from today, all border crossings and applications for international protection will be concentrated to the Raja-Jooseppi border crossing point in the very northern part of Finland. These measures were considered necessary to protect Finland and our national security. We want to send a clear message to Russia. This must stop. It is of course possible that this can have an impact to the borders of Baltic countries. That's why it is so important that we share information and best practices. The conclusion from Russia's activity is clear. We have to continue our strong support to Ukraine as long as it takes. Russia is trying to disturb Europe on multiple fronts, but they will not succeed. Thank you very much, and once again, welcome to Finland.
Dear Prime Minister, dear Petteri, we both are newly appointed Prime Ministers and we face the same challenges. And I would love to sincerely thank you, Prime Minister of Finland, for hosting me. Latvia and Finland really have excellent bilateral relations, and we have common interests in security and prosperity of the Baltic region. We have had many exchanges, both in other formats and online, yet the visit in Finland is my third visit after Lithuania and Estonia. We attach great importance to our cooperation bilaterally at the EU, NATO, the UN, and other formats. Latvia is determined to strengthen it. Today, we mostly discussed economic, security, and defense cooperation, what was already been mentioned by Prime Minister, regional security, NATO, and sure, including border security and critical infrastructure as well as support to Ukraine and EU affairs. On economic cooperation, I underlined the need to increase bilateral trade and investment in such areas as energy. I know we have good cooperation already in the financial and transport sectors. The common aim is to increase the regional connectivity. On bilateral cooperation in security and defense fields, I informed the Prime Minister about the just established state defense cooperation, which would deepen defense industry cooperation in our next future and our security in the region. On border security, I expressed solidarity with Finland, and I still do it. I understand you, because we have been there since 2 years ago. And I would like to thank the Prime Minister for sharing an information of the current developments. We have been cooperating formally and informally within the situation. And we regret that Russia and Belarus continue to weaponize migration, which we see as a part of a broader set of hybrid threats. And we also agree to continue our coordination as well as deepen cooperation between our border guards. On the security of critical infrastructure, I underlined the importance of strengthening it nationally, at the regional level, EU and NATO. On NATO, we agreed it's crucial to see Sweden in NATO by summit in Washington next year. And we also discussed the need to strengthen defense and deterrence capabilities in our region and ways to increase our cooperation within NATO. We should continue to support Ukraine until its victory. Russia has to stop breaking the rules and withdraw all its troops from internationally recognized territory of Ukraine. We both agree on that. And I also underlined the need to further keeping as a strong commitment of European Union the promises we have given to Europe, to Ukraine, and to world as itself. We have to keep those promises to Ukraine. Finally, we recall the recent leaders' discussion on the topics in Copenhagen, and we discussed EU enlargement, EU adoption and reforms, as well as financing our common priorities in the future. I emphasized the need to agree in December on opening of EU accession negotiations with Ukraine and Moldova. As Prime Minister of Finland is in the same position, yes. I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prime Ministers. And now we open the floor for the questions. Kindly wait for the microphone and introduce yourselves before asking questions. So, Vieraili will start.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Sakari Nuuttila from Vieraili Public Broadcasting Company. Latvia, indeed, as you mentioned, has experienced a similar hybrid operation for a long time already, and you have done decisive measures to counteract this. But I would like to hear how you respond to the criticism from, for example, the Council of Europe or human rights organizations who have criticized Latvia's pushback policy and related methods at your border, saying that they violate the basic rights of asylum seekers and even international law. So I would ask how you justify these measures, and perhaps Prime Minister Orpo could, on a similar note, add, you mentioned the need for strong measures. Could they include something like what has been done in Latvia, or perhaps what is being done now in Estonia, not allowing the migrants to actually cross the border? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your question. Yes, Latvia has experienced a very similar situation what you are experiencing right now. And we have to understand that those are not just asylum seekers. This is hybrid attacks from Russia and Belarus. We have Belarus as well as our neighbor. Yes, those were tough decisions government has to make, but we are external border of EU. We are responsible for protecting our borders. If neighbor who is not very friendly decides to make a hybrid attacks, pushing people across the border, we still got open the possibility for asylum seekers to apply for asylum in Belarus, in Latvian consulate. So there was still opportunity for that. And yes, it was not easy. It's the beginning to understand what's really going on. On humanitarian aspects, we are still receiving people who need aid, but we have to send a strong message that our laws, our rule of law, can be used against us from Russia not obeying any rule of law. This is very difficult to understand, but this is a decision government has to make. And actually, those hybrid attacks were stopped and the numbers were increasing. Sure, there always has been some differences, some floats coming up and down, but yes, we are not letting people not be let in if they really are looking for asylum, but you have to divide. This is hybrid attacks, and asylum seeking is something different.
Yes, thank you very much for your question. At first, I have to say that these kind of situations are very difficult for the decision makers. You have to take care of your national security and take care of human rights. But at this moment, this is hybrid attack against Finland and before, and at this moment, this attack also against Latvia and other Baltic countries. This is, for us, this is not at this moment the question of human rights. Of course, it's human rights, but it's not question of asylum seekers. This is question of hybrid attack and national security. And if necessary, Finland is ready and prepared to take further measures in the line of national legislation and in the line of international obligations. We have to find the balance, but at first we have to take care of our national security.
And I fully agree with the Prime Minister in this matter.
Any further questions? MTV3.
Thank you, Lala Ylitalo from MTV News. My question is actually towards Prime Minister Orpo, considering the placement of the migrants and asylum seekers coming from the eastern border to Finland. Today we learned that at least 100 Ukrainians are being pushed away from Oulu's accommodation center's apartments. What is the plan towards the placement of the migrants and asylum seekers? This seemed like a pretty hasty decision. So what is the plan and how many are we prepared to take from the eastern border? Thank you.
Maybe I can answer on this issue in Finnish. Kuulin tänään tästä ongelmasta, että on siis olemassa suunnitelma, että jos perustetaan järjestelykeskus, mikä on varautumista, jos tulisi enemmän väkeä, niin silloin se järjestelykeskus jonkun suunnitelman mukaan perustettaisiin Ouluun, jolloin siellä paikkaa, jossa ukrainalaisia pakolaisia on. Keskustelin tänne tullessani tästä sisäministeri Rantasen kanssa. Meidän molempien mielipide on se, että ensinnäkin järjestelykeskuksen perustaminen voi odottaa siihen, että jos sitä todella tarvitaan. Nyt meillä on säädökset siihen ja meidän viranomaiset osaa kyllä pystyttää sen nopeasti. Siihen voi valmistautua, mutta ei tarvitse tehdä sitä heti. Ja mitä tulee ukrainalaisiin pakolaisiin, jotka ovat nyt siellä suunnitellustilassa, niin heistä pitää huolta. Ensisijaisesti pitäisi vielä katsoa, että löytyy joku toinen paikka. Ja jos tämän paikan käyttö on täysin perusteltu ja välttämätöntä järjestelykeskukselle, niin silloin ukrainalaisille pitäisi löytää Oulusta, jossa he ovat ja jonne he ovat varmasti kotoutuneet, niin paikka. Mutta tästä puhuttiin sisäministerin kanssa ja todettiin, että hän lähtee tekemään töitä yhdessä viranomaisten kanssa löytääkseen tähän hyvän inhimillisen ratkaisun.
Thank you. Now we have time for one more question. AP.
Associated Press, Jari Tanner. Question to Latvian Prime Minister. So could you still a little bit more tell about the border situation with Belarus? And we understand that Latvia has closed at least one border crossing point. Is that still so? Are you planning to close all of those points? And how many people approximately are still coming daily to the border?
We still have one point open with Belarus. We have a special law in force after almost 2 years of emergency situation with borders. It is not an easy situation. It takes a lot of effort from our border guards, our armed forces to do every day this job to protect our borders. It is exhausting, and there has been many criminal cases already now which are in process, because there is behind this also organized crime, because they are using people as a tool. And unfortunately, there will be not good answers to those issues, but we are still leaving one point open, because there is opportunity for asylum seekers to apply. And the situation during wintertime usually is not so bad, because then the asylum seekers are, unfortunately, illegal migration or hybrid attacks are not so intense. But actually, last December, the numbers were increasing. So we never know what the Lukashenko's or Putin regime will decide. That's a bad thing. We cannot predict it, and we cannot proceed here with normal politics or normal decisions. And we have to react and to be proactive in emergency situations. So now the situation is stabilized, but we understand that if some of the states crossing Russia, which has a borderline with Russia or Belarus, is doing something on their borders, then yes, we have to be ready. There will be some changes on our borders as well. That's why we are coordinating all 3 prime ministers of Baltic states together. If what will happen now when Finland has closed its borders, and we are raising our alertness as well, because also Estonia has already has been reached some hybrid attacks similar to Finland, and we are raising our alertness for our authorities as well. So we are being prepared, and I hope, as I said, formal and informal contact with your Prime Minister, we really are strengthening ourselves to building up.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Prime Ministers. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.